For example, not too long ago, I was doing a really fascinating study on women and hormonal contraception. And so when they walked into the room, this is a great icebreaker also, whether it's a coaching group or a one-on-one or focus group. And so they came into the room, and I had all these cards laid out. I had found cards that had more than a title on it. They also had some descriptions on it, and I'd have to keep on telling them to not look at the descriptions because there were like positive aspects and negative aspects, and for my purposes, I really don't want that. I want them free associating rather than looking at the definition on the card. But nevertheless, that's one of the reasons why I came up with these iconicards, because I wanted clean images. So I would tell them to pick a card that best represented themselves in relationship to birth control, a card that best represented the birth control that they're currently using. And then I also invited them to choose a card that would represent the ideal birth control, and a fourth card which would represent themselves transformed in some way because of using the ideal.
Okay, so my mind is exploding now. My brain is exploding. Could you go over those four more succinctly for me?
So, who are you in relationship to your current birth control? Find the card that represents that.
Okay.
Who is your current birth control? Find a card that represents that.
Who is your current birth control? Okay, so first is you in relation to your current birth control, and now who is your birth control?
Right.
So you're going to have two cards that have a relationship to each other.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what if there was an ideal birth control? Which would it be?
Oh, okay.
And a fourth card that represents who you would be if you had the ideal birth control.
Did you hear that sound? Did you hear that sound?
Pop?
It was a sound of my popping my brains back into my head because I understand now.
I thought I heard it.
Yeah, good. That's good. I get it.
We've been living together too long.
Yeah.
I understood exactly that you were thinking pop.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It makes sense. I get it now.
Cool.
And then what do you do once you have those four cards?
Well, the simplest thing to do, and anybody can do this, is just have them give you 5 words to describe each of their choices.
So now you forget about birth control entirely. You just say, okay, now let's look at the card and give you
5 words to describe that character.
So 5 words to describe the goddess, 5 words to describe the warrior, 5 words to describe whoever they chose.
The victim, 5 words to describe slave driver.
Interesting, okay.
Right.
That's a much simpler task.
And you have them write it all, especially if you're working in a group, you have them jot it down so that they're not influencing each other.
Oh, okay.
And then you have them report on what they chose, and then invite them, once they've reported on all of the different adjectives that they used, then go back to each one and invite them to tie back their associations to themselves or to, the problem at hand, the product, whatever it is that you were doing. And this is so rich that if you wanted to, you could spend an hour just on this exercise alone. Very often in market research and focus groups, we don't have time to do that in a therapy group or in an individual session or in a coaching session. You'd have plenty of time just to work with that and let the person tell stories. And because the characters are so meaningful, the stories are, just like you said your brain was exploding before, people start exploding with associations.
That's what I wanted to get across to people, that this sounds like a project maybe you put together in a weekend, but really it's the pinnacle of 20 years of work, figuring out how to get people to open up most fluently and easily and non-defensively without feeling uncomfortable or embarrassed or anything like that. And
the reason that works so well is that it's an opportunity for them to play a game and project onto the cards, to free associate to the cards and step out of themselves for a moment, and then we invite them to step back.
Got it.
And so, they experience it as a game, they laugh at the cards, and, because there are so many different roles there, and they can identify with more than one, and you can let them choose more than one. It's a choice that I make, whether I have them pick just one for a particular aspect or let them choose more than one. Mm-hmm. But it's a great warm-up, or it can be a great in-depth technique.
Got it.
So, do we want to demonstrate this?
I would love to. Could I be the guinea pig?
Sure.
Okay. Can I ask you one more question before you do?
You can ask me too.
How do you tie it all together at the end?
Well, what you're going to have at the end is a story. So, for example, with the birth control story, it might be something like the person feels enslaved to their current birth control because they have to take a pill every day.
So the current birth control is the master, and they are the slave?
Right.
So they would actually pick the slave and the master as the 2 cards?
They might, or it might be, might be a predator. They feel like the slave and their current birth control is a predator because it feeds on their fears. You know, it's like something that makes them uncomfortable, because if they don't take it at the exact same time every single day, they're never sure, are they really covered? Also, there are potential side effects. Blah, 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 all kinds of stuff. So the ideal birth control would be something that they didn't put in their mouth and take internally. You know, maybe it's applied topically, so it doesn't seem like it's systemic. I'm making this up now. And they only have to use it once a month, so they can forget about it and feel more natural. It's like, you know, friendly, and it, like what might they have picked? It might have been their Messiah. So that means they don't gain any weight, because the Messiah wouldn't make you fat. And then what happens is they can be this cosmic goddess who's flitting around the universe, gorgeous, you know, sexy dress where she feels free and in control and magnificent instead of a slave.
Okay, and now you totally understand why she does what she does with the birth control and what she picks. I see.
Right.
Okay. So now can I be the guinea pig?
Yep.